Welcome back. The phrase air dominance looks different than it did just a few years ago. Navy leaders say the rise of unmanned or autonomous systems requires new approaches to fielding strike capabilities, test and evaluation, as well as joint operations. All topics of conversation between Francis and Rear Admiral Keith Hash.
Admiral, it's great to have you here. Thanks very much for joining me. What challenges is interoperability presenting in the unmanned sphere right now?
Francis, great question. We have a lot of entrants that want to come into the unmanned sphere. And as a department, as a Navy, we put out a lot of standards that we give them. Hey, build your techniques, your procedures, your interoperability, your connection to us in this way. And, those standards show what they need to do. But, interpretation of those standards matter. And so as they come into our sphere, as they come in, bring their tools and their products to us, making sure they work with the other things in the same sphere, with our manned platforms, with our other unmanned platforms. It's really important. And so, the challenge is creating the environments where they can come in and test their systems out effectively, creating a realistic environment, creating a safe environment for them to do that, and then making sure that we work diligently with them in close connection so that they interpret those standards, interpret those expectations effectively.
You and your team use a term called unmanned dominance. What does that term mean? What does fulfillment of that term mean to you?
Yeah, so, we want to be a dominant force no matter what. That's the point. We don't want to enter a fair fight. We want to make sure that what we bring to bear is a deterrent to those who want to bring harm to our nation and to our allies. And if they decide to want to come to blows, then they're going to lose. And so whether it's manned or unmanned, we want that to be dominant. And so we've got to learn how to apply the best wisdom we've learned over conflict through our many years of being in conflict and where we anticipate conflict to be in the future and apply that. We want to create realistic scenarios so that our unmanned platforms can operate in those scenarios. The contested environment is not going to be a friendly one, whether that's kinetically unfriendly or non-kinetically unfriendly. Or cyber unfriendly. We've got to make sure that these systems are ready and hardened to operate and to dominate, to bring the effects that they're intended to bring, to work as a team. No single platform, no single unit is going to operate in conflict in the future, and so they need to understand their part and how they work together with the other units, with the other unmanned systems, with the manned systems that will be providing command and control and support to those unmanned systems.
What are some of the lessons that you've learned over time, and how do those inform those standards that you talked about that you put out to industry?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've learned this over many years of acquisition myself. The industry and government also don't operate independently, that we have to team together. And, I've never seen a successful team where the government threw something over the fence and said, y'all go build it and then bring it to me. The lesson learned is we have got to work together. We may contract and give it to industry. We need their best foot forward. We need them to bring their best ideas. But we also need to team up to make sure that we're iterating. I've even seen it recently. We built a bunch of buildings in my location that came from an earthquake. And to get it right, we had to have our own teams working alongside the contractors to solve those problems along the way. That happens with our defense industrial partners as well. When they start building to the requirements that are given, people do their very best to develop those requirements, and those are the right requirements. But once again, it's about interpretation. It's about when you apply the real thing to it, we've got to be an iterative conversation. And I think that's super important. So whenever we award a contract to an industry partner, that partner should be expecting that the government's going to be there teaming with them. And the government partner needs to be expecting, hey, I've got to be a partner with this industry partner along the way. When we talk about the defense industrial base, it's really their warfighting partners. We can't build the Navy we need today, whether it's manned or unmanned, without them. And we have to work together as a team. And if we don't do that, then we're going to end up with the wrong thing at the wrong time, and it won't be that interoperable solution that we need.
I read that the Navy has gone from hands full of unmanned vehicles several years ago to hundreds, maybe approaching thousands now. What has that scale meant for the way that you approach what you're doing?
Yeah, that's the scale has been interesting, and how do we go evaluate that? And so, we would love to have the airspace and sea space to do that constantly. And actually, in my command, I actually do have a lot of that airspace and sea space. There are challenges to do that. and we do that on a periodic basis. But you can't put enough boats at sea or aircraft in the air to do that and really learn the lessons you need. And so we're focusing on how do we do that in a digital, a virtual constructive environment, building digital models of these systems and creating areas where we can do thousands and millions of runs to work together. And I think that's another area where we're working with industry to set the standards for, hey, when we put you on contract, you need to deliver a digital model of your system in addition to this hardware. So we can iterate early, learn fast, and then bring solutions that are not always going to be the full-fledged solution on day one. Bring something that's half-baked so we can learn from it with each other, and you can go finish up your design and finish your development with those lessons learned. But we do actually create large sea spaces. We've had opportunity to bring large amounts of unmanned surface vessels, and guess what? They have to have a opposing force. And so I have a team that does that as well, and those are autonomous vehicles, and they're learning from each other, and it's been a pretty phenomenal to watch it happen. But it creates opportunities and challenges as we need to communicate with that many systems, as we do it safely to protect the public that's also using the same waters and airspace, and working with other agencies outside of the Department of War to make sure that we're doing that effectively.
We just have a couple of minutes left, but I want to add two more layers onto that scale piece. The joint force, because it's not just Navy, you're working with your brothers in the Marine Corps, the other services, and allies and partners too, in a potential fight that you'll go into. Yes. How does that connect with the way that you're thinking about scaling at the speed that you're scaling at?
Yeah, you cannot operate without thinking about the joint force. We, as a Naval Air Warfare Center, are very focused on the carrier air wing and the weapons that are going with that. But that carrier air wing depends upon the rest of the Navy, the air side of the Navy, the surface side of the Navy, the subsurface side, and it definitely depends on the Air Force and our brothers and sisters in the Air Force, and of course the rest of the Naval Force, the Marine Corps, are that expeditionary force out in front of us. And so we create opportunities. We have test events through the year where we bring those joint and even the allied forces together. We have an event in the fall. We brought folks from Australia, from Canada, from the UK to totally participate in a fully joint allied engagement of what does that look like with, hey, long-range kill chains, long-range fires that we've got to implement, the effects we need to bring over the horizon. And we've learned quite a bit bringing those together. We also try to do that in a digital environment. How do we bring our digital twins of our systems together so we can collaborate? So in our laboratories and in our virtual environments that we've created, we bring those tools together to learn and grow. But yeah, we can't do it without our joint force. We can't do it without our brothers and sisters in the joint allied environment.
Read more about the challenges and opportunities posed by unmanned aviation on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. I'll be right back.